1973 with Limerick, but I think he really came to fame in the mid-90s when a lot of us had the pleasure of following a Limerick team that won 2 Munster titles in 94 and 96 and won a National League in 97. We had some great days out that time. The manager of that team, Marian, please welcome him. And when Tom was coming to the end of his managerial career, there was a young fella starting out. We can ask Tom what he was like at this stage, but I think Ollie, you made your debut about 97 or so, and went on to excel for Limerick. I think in particular we'll remember the saga against Tipperary in 2007. Ollie, along the way, he got an All-Star in 2007, he captained Limerick in 2005. I think you'll have seen him on TV and whatever, so we're delighted to have Ollie Moran here with us tonight. And finally, one of the kids on Tom's team back in 94, 96 time, this next man went on to star for Limerick for many, many years before taking over eventually as manager and played no small part in, I think, in preparing the team that eventually won an All-Ireland in 2018. Please welcome TJ Wright. I think TJ, we're going to hand it over to you to control things.
Yeah, I believe so. First of all, just thanks to the community of Brough for inviting us. Not really exactly sure why we're here, but we're going to make a stab at talking. My history wouldn't be great. Tom's history would be much better than mine, but I suppose when us people that are ingrained in hurling, we always think about history, about county titles and how they were going, and go back to under 12 and minor teams and senior teams and how they were going back then. So that's probably how we relate to history a lot of times. In history class, I definitely spent more time talking than I did listening. Tom would probably say I did the same in the hurling team. But just to say thanks to Declan and Nullig and the people of Brough for inviting us here, and I hope that we can bring some few insights into what community and GAA and success does. And I suppose, Marian, I'll start with you because it's a very big weekend for Brough. They're in the Premier Intermediate final tomorrow, which is great, and usually in a place like where we grew up, like county finals generate great buzz and excitement, so I imagine that you can feel that in Brough this week.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to lie now, I was telling Tom there, my two brothers play with Atlaka, so I'm probably not the best person to ask about the Brough hurlers, but no, I was even watching a video today that Sean Finn did in preparation for it, and he was just saying that he feels now is the best time for them to go up senior, like they're ready for it. They have a lot of young players come through and they've really progressed, so I wish them the best now. I hope they do it tomorrow. Yeah, and yourselves, Marian, you're in the county semi-final the following week in the Camogie, which is great. So massive for an area like here, and again, just for everybody to get involved, because there isn't a huge amount left in community probably that brings people together as much now as the local GAA team, be it ladies football, Camogie or hurling. So that's obviously great for you guys as well. And obviously ladies all over the country are flying at the moment with the soccer and boxers, and it's definitely on the fly. Yeah, no, 100% it is. Women's sport is in the best position now that it has been for a long time. So no, it's great and we're delighted. It was a long road to get there this year, but finally made it to the A semi-final on Sunday week, so we're delighted with that. Excellent, well done. And Ollie, there's just very brief talk currently that there's going to be a merge between the GAA, the ladies football and the Camogie. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to all tie in, but it's ongoing at the moment. And I'd imagine us people that have kids involved in it would like to see the whole lot merged together, because it's all kind of one community really, isn't it?
Absolutely, TJ, and I suppose you see most clubs out there at the moment, the Camogie team are using the same pitch as what the male team are using, the ladies football team are using the same pitch, so to all intents and purposes they've effectively been one the same anyway, but for whatever reason over the generations they've retained their own entities, for better or for worse. But look, I think at this stage, like you said, I think we all have maybe sons or daughters that are going out to the field the same day. As far as we're concerned, it is all the one. But look, I think there's a couple of things to be ironed out there. From what I can gather, maybe Marian, you'll know more, but I think definitely there seems to be huge momentum with the Camogie in terms of joining the GAA. I'm not sure the LGFA as gung ho on it from what I can gather. But look, to be fair, I think it's in everyone's best interest anyway. And I suppose the other aspect there is the profile of ladies Gaelic games is just never been higher. So now it's probably as good a time as any in one way.
And Tom, I probably waited about 25 years to question you, so tonight.
The 15 day test you won.
The first thing I would say is I'm led to believe that this is a former courthouse. So the first question I have to you is, were you up here before?
I should be. I should be.
Yeah.
Should be brought in after 94. Drawing balls.
Tom, speaking of Bruff, I suppose Sean Finn, given the night that's in it, and the All-Stars on, and that's what we're all expecting to notch another one up. I suppose, in your estimation, how good is he?
Well, speaking of Brough, first of all, I mean, TJ, it's wonderful to hear Declan there reminding us of the history. You know, I mean, it's a wonderful place, and I must compliment everybody. You know, I've been a huge supporter of Brough all the time. You know, they've this, you know, they've now a very, very good young team coming up and having in the final tomorrow. I wish them the very best. I think they're, you know, they've been under a lot of pressure here, a lot of opposition. You know, we had the oval ball here, very strong, and they kept their play. And also, we had great days here. Brough, I played for Ballyroan for a long, long time, and Brough was our favourite. We had great matches here. We won championships here at every level, but championship games at junior and senior, and we always had a tremendous welcome here, you know, and there was great welcome for the always, and I must compliment and thank them very much from really from the bottom of my heart. As regards, I mean, the question you asked me, I would say I would put him in the actual, one of the best, I suppose, that I've seen. He had every attribute that's needed, and you know, he has the power. He's really and truly a wonderful, wonderful player, and you know, I mean, it's any club that can produce, or family that can produce a player like that. I mean, they should be very proud, and Brough, I know they are, at Limerick are proud of him, and he's actually a legend even. You know, I mean, in my book now, I can't get in the fault. His consistency there at the highest level is just beyond, you know.
Yeah. And Marian, for a community like Brough to have Sean Finn, like even just to drive through town and you see his picture on the wall now with Bull Hayes, like it's just for a hurling team point of view, all the youngsters playing, it's massive, I imagine.
Oh, it's huge, and we had a fun day in Brough last weekend. All the young Camogie players and hurlers in the club were all there, and there was a blitz and everything, but they had a little play area with all these games for people to play at the end of playing the blitz, and that was supposed to be the highlight of the day. But Sean Finn arrived on, and Dean McCarthy was there at one stage, and that was all anyone was interested in. He was bombarded from the minute he came in the door for autographs and pictures and everything. So it's great, like, there was even some kids, their blitz was over at 10 o'clock, but he wasn't bringing the cup till 4, so they were crying that they had to go home and then come back in the afternoon. So no, it's great, it's great to see it.
Yeah, phenomenal hurler, and like I said, everybody looks up to him, and maybe most of the older folk, well, they would like to look like Sean Finn, I think.
He had it all, unfortunately. Yeah. You know, the looks, the hurling, the temperament. He's articulate. You know, if you were the other way, like you definitely he'd be top of your go-to list. But look, yeah, he's if I was just just to clarify that. No, I'm smoking first, so. No, but look, come here, just to add to what the lad said, like I just think it's even his big game temperament. Like we all know, TJ, like that. It's one thing to have all the attributes, but when you're there on the big day, and like I suppose the ultimate accolade you can give him is that he always delivers on the big day. You know what I mean? Which is the ultimate test of how good a player is.
Yeah, his consistency has been unreal. But Tom, just to talk for a minute about the sense of community in the GA team going playing, and you being the oldest of us here, maybe to talk about going back to today, the difference, do you see any difference in the sense of community, let's say when you were playing with Ballyroan back in the 60s and 70s, whereas you go all the way forward to today, has much changed?
No, really, the community aspect of it and the parish support and what it means to a parish is just, I say, nearly even stronger today. You know, because people have better ways of communication, number one. And definitely, the GA, and by the way, I don't agree with the GA taking over Camogie football, lady football at all, because they're having trouble in running their own game.
Okay.
But that's only a side issue. The situation is that, as I see it and can compare it now, you know, I mean, years ago, like you hadn't that many other attractions. Now you have a huge range of Sunday shopping, or even social life and community life had changed in that, but the support for the parish team in every parish, especially a team that starts to go well and maybe win, but you need to win, you need to build, and when the team is consolidated and if you have the proper management behind it, you know, with local coaches and all that, they should even be running and pay big sums of money to fellas coming in from mercenaries, you know, if you keep it local at all and assistance kept local, the support will be there, and the GA is in a very strong position in that regard in my book, Peter.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering, like, do you see any fear for, let's say, if we roll forward 15, 20 years? Like, I still get a great sense of community, and we'll tell Ollie, for you, like, do you see any fear that the GA might be in trouble? Do you know, lots of the other facets of community or parish, let's say, maybe like religion or whatever it is, have maybe kind of struggled a little? Do you think the GA is safe?
Well, the GA, it has to be managed properly as well. You know, it's about any the competition now, as you rightly have put it, teacher, with society, the community has changed, and life has changed, social life has changed, family life, everything has changed. But like, if it's properly managed and properly in the direction that is controlled. I mean controlled in the best way now. You know, managed properly at county board level and at divisional board level, and with the coaches and the whole lot. I believe that the games themselves are safe. You know, and they will because there is a huge interest, and maybe we're a bit false at the moment in Limerick here because we're so successful with the county team. You know, well, we might be getting carried away with that, but even when we weren't so successful, Limerick they were always regarded as being a hurling county, and you know, they kept up that tradition, and we had great interaction between the clubs, and I think that's as strong as ever.
Yeah, I suppose we in the GA, I would like to see that, and in fairness, around the county, certainly maybe because of success recently, but all the clubs are working hard, and even facilities wise now, I definitely think that Limerick, maybe we would have been behind, but they're definitely around the place now. There's hurling malls, there's Astros, there's plenty of work going on in pitches, so I'd like to think that we have a good solid future into the next 15, 20 years.
We have, like, I was only reading your former manager Tony Constantine, you know, made a very good point about you know, the strut that Limerick players have now, even at club level, and I think that probably reflects maybe us as a county. Like certainly, you know, we all endured bad years with Limerick when Moran was on the floor, and you know, GA, I suppose from a Limerick point of view, wasn't in the place it is now. But I suppose, look, that's you know, success brings all that about too. You know, rising tide and all the rest. But I suppose. To go back to your original question, just about the role of GA even in the community, like, you know, you go to a lot of communities now, the creamery is gone, the post office is gone, the shop, the church is nearly gone, do you know what I mean? So, like, you know, but the mainstay all the way through has been the GA and the GA pitch, and I think that now is the place where communities meet. Like, and you know, I see even our own community, when I started off hurling, we were a rural community. Now we're very much a suburban community. We were getting people from all over the place, like what you see in suburban areas in Limerick, like, you know, your opposition tomorrow, Monaleen, Mungret, all these places go up in Dublin, like. But again, it's the GA is the place where I suppose everyone comes together and you start making connections. If you're coming into a community, you know, it's the first place you go or your children go, and that's really what's forming all the bonds, like. So I think never was the GA probably more important, and I suppose, look, from a profile point of view, Gaelic Games is probably in the best place it's been in an awful long time, you know what I mean? So look, as Tom will discuss more detail, like, there's plenty not right with the GA, but I think that's always going to be the case. But you know, it's in a pretty good place, all things told, at the moment.
I think one of the things the GA does for me, it gives me a great sense of people's ages. This could be wrong, like, you always say talking about somebody in some other parish, right? He was a minor in 2001 or whatever it is, so you can think of everybody, or he played in the 60s, or there's a new Tom who played in the 60s, so I always know your age and everything, so that just gives you a great in the GA. Marian, captain of the Limerick Camogie team, the Limerick Hurling team, for a while it looked like as if we were never going to make the breakthrough and win a Senior All-Ireland in the male. Is it possible that maybe they're not that far away, Limerick Camogie? Is it possible that maybe they could do something, get inspiration from the males?
Yeah, I think, especially at the moment, I don't think there's ever been a time where you, like, for the last few years we've been saying, oh, Limerick Camogie is building, we're going somewhere. But this year's, like, I truly believe that's the case. We've had a huge turnover of players. We had such a young panel this year. A lot of younger girls came up, like Lizzie Boylan, she's still only 18, like Orla Keller is just 20, not even 21 I'd say. And like all those players have made the step up. We struggled in the league this year, I know we were relegated, but we still came back and we made a quarter final. Like I think that was a huge step for us this year. And again, like over the last 5 or 6 years we've had a lot of different management. John is staying this year as well, so we're finally have a bit of continuity with it. And these young players who now have a year of experience behind them, going into next year again, I think we're really building towards something at the moment.
And do you think the male team has had an influence on those younger players?
Possibly, yeah. Like it's great, like to see the success that they've had is huge, and the impact that it's had on the whole county of Limerick. Like everyone, no matter who you are in Limerick, you know about the Limerick Hurling team. If they walk into the shot, you know who all of them are. So no, it is great to see that, and like their success, it definitely is something to look up to. So hopefully, we'll be able to follow.
Tom, you've always been a straight shooter. How good is this Limerick team?
Well, I suppose I'm 78 by the way.
I didn't want to say anything.
But you know, so I've seen a lot of different teams,
yeah.
club and county. I've seen a lot of I partook in an awful lot of matches at all ages. But this Limerick team is the best team that Limerick has ever produced. Like there's no doubt about that. I mean, and you know, and I think the last performance, it took me even by surprise in the All-Ireland. They were absolutely brilliant. We've never seen a performance like that without two of their star players. So there's no doubt about this is an exceptional team. But like they are a unique team in physicality and in the you know, and what's behind them. It was very good management team behind them, and but. The whole, I think it's the whole, both the team and the management and the actual support and even what I would say now is you have a very, very supportive and a very positive county board, which makes the complete picture, the complete team. So they're the best I've seen ever anyway, there's no doubt about that. And you can go back, and they can go back a long way.
Are you talking about in Limerick, or like, do you want to say if you compare them to that Kilkenny team that won the 4 in a row and they were just done for 5 in a row? Like it might be a little bit unfair right now because this team is still in, maybe has got more to do, so they might pass it out. But
oh, they would be. They're in power, maybe better than them, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, man for man, like, I mean, they would be. But then again, you're looking at the game has changed, and you know you have to judge it in that regard, and it's changed dramatically now. You know, and I'm far from being supporter of what's happening now.
Yeah.
I
heard that, Tom.
I mean, the sport, I mean, the actual, you know, and Limerick have dominated it. The actual opposition have failed to, they have tried to ape and to follow Limerick, which they can't do, and they have left their own origins, they have put them to one side, like the Cork and Tipperary, even Waterford, you know, they have concentrated too much on the Limerick whole system, we call it, and no team can compare it, can actually do that. You know, they have really established a very, very unique blend of hurling, their game plan and all that. And the one thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to be appointed a manager or maybe some team to take them on. That I am 78 and I'm not dreaming. What?
Which team?
Well, I could build a team, you know. I reckon in that regard. You know, and I think I'd love to, before I die, I'd love to say that to take them on, because I think myself. I think myself that I could pick a team and to beat them. No, David said,
Well, David Fitz.
and I have no drink taken or anything.
I think David Fitz said that after he was kind of let go from Wexford, that he now had the plan worked out how to beat this Limerick team, Ollie. So then he said he had no team then. But he has a team now. Like, if you were to just look very quickly ahead to 2023, where do you see the threat coming from?
Well, do you know, funny one observation maybe just before I answer that question, right? You look at Limerick's last 3 games this year. Clare, we met them probably at their peak this year. Like, in fairness to them, I don't think anyone gave them the credit that they deserve. Like, they put Limerick the absolute pin in their collar. I think a few minutes to go, I genuinely thought Clare were going to win that. Galway had Limerick to the pin of their collar. It was the best Galway performance they've produced in a long time. And Kilkenny, who are, in my opinion, they are the barometer across every generation. That team played to the best of their ability. So, like, for Limerick to beat 3 teams, that, like, let's be fair, you know, they took Limerick on. They didn't try to negate Limerick in any way. They actually took Limerick on, right? So, like, I think that's, again, the ultimate compliment you can give Limerick is they took on 3 quality teams who were at their best, and against Clare were Limerick at their best? No. Against Galway were Limerick at their best? No. I think they were at their best against Kilkenny, and they barely. So, like, I think, to be fair, Limerick have proven that they're now meeting teams who are coming with the kitchen sink. Yeah. Next year, I do agree. I think the one difference is, and this isn't in any way to I suppose, be disingenuous in any way to Limerick at all, but, like, the quality of opposition, the difference with Kilkenny were Kilkenny had a quality Waterford team, they're a quality Cork team, they're a quality Tipperary team. I don't think Limerick are meeting that same level of opposition at their peak. And being honest about it, looking at it, whatever it is, 9 months out at this stage, I just can't see what team are going to come. Cork, I thought this year, I thought they'd kick on from the All-Ireland last year. They regressed. Kilkenny, how much longer can TJ Reid do it? Waterford are in transition. Tipperary are certainly in a big phase of transition. And Galway, I think they got a kick out of an aging team last year. Didn't expect that either. Like, so again, looking at it this far out, like, this Limerick team are probably just hitting their peak now from an age point of view, from a physique point of view, and from a hurling development point of view as well. Like, so look, I just can't see where the threat is going to come if we played 3 teams at their peak last year and
plus that you fully fit Keane Lynch all going well.
Absolutely, and Peter Casey's back as well, like, you know.
Massive plus, like,
plus a couple of, Cotton is going to be a year older. Adam English, if he can stave off injury. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're getting the 2 or 3 now that we need to get every year tighter.
Coming at the back end, yeah.
Absolutely, you know, what a gem, like, so I suppose, look, you know, you want to try and, we're so used to beating ourselves up in Limerick, but look, the reality is, if we weren't all from Limerick, we'd be saying, look, you know, Limerick are the team to beat again next year.
Yeah, no other future. Tom, just for the record, if you were to go somewhere else to a club or a county, do you need to get paid?
Well, I want to get back some of the money I owed.
Marian, it's going to be strange to see Kilkenny without Brian Cody in 2023. It's going to be hard to see how they're going to react to that. How do you think, like, he's been an institution there since 1998? How do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, it's going to be a big change for Kilkenny anyway.
Yeah, for players and people alike.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how Kilkenny react to that themselves, or like how their structure changes and whatnot. But like Ollie said there, from a Limerick point of view, it'd be hard to see like anyone really putting it up to them. Like, you'd be worried about Kilkenny came at them with kitchen sink, like in the All-Ireland final this year, but Limerick still gave, like, I just wouldn't be worried from a Limerick point of view about it next year, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Kilkenny react to it.
Tom, John Kiley, word is you taught him everything he knows. You had him as a young fella in the 90s.
Yeah, they say that, all right. I have a lot of people trained in my time.
Just touch on Cody for a second. Well, he was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Yes, well, he was an unbelievable mentor, you know, no doubt about that. His history is there. No question anything about Cody. He was, he's a huge tradition and history behind him. But you have to account as well for the actual foundation that were there as well. He had great players which is something that, okay, the management is very important, but if you have, like the Limerick team at the moment, like I remember seeing that Limerick team playing under 21 in most of them, and I was in the Gaelic ground when I did play Tipperary, and I just thought to myself, I looked at them, the physique of them, the skill of them, and this was now long before John Riley, got out of them like and started and they're really top class. And what I think about the management is, and John Riley in particular, it is I say a lot of I would attribute a lot of the actual the game plans and the system they have is attributed, I'd say, to McKinnon. And the way they can change, and the way they can, that's Ali mentioned it, the thing that they can change in, like just like that, during the game, and they have a tremendous, what you call, like, ability to when if things start to go wrong, they can manage it in the field themselves, which is a great attribute for to have. And like, if you even look at them, in a warm-up situation, and I've been looking at them closely, people don't pay maybe much attention to this. It is one kind of a game show. But if you watch the Limerick team in warming up, and the way they can change from one, just on a whistle bang, they're like river decks. That's what I like.
I actually think that he just add to that, like when Limerick came in first in 2017, and even 2018, ironically, when they won the All-Ireland, Limerick were you would say they were probably rigid enough in how they played. It was very much a possession-based game. And, while we were all delighted, there was a certain part of me that said, Jesus, I'd love if they went back to the old traditional Limerick way. Now, look, they weren't going to survive playing the old Limerick way or the old way of just bombing ball in, but definitely the biggest transition I've seen in the last number of years is like that. They can mix it whenever they want on a whim. Like, they played one game against Clare this year. They played a very different game against Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final. But as I said, like, they're proficient at both, and that's still like, it's like the All Blacks in rugby. They can play whatever way you want to, but they'll still come out on top. And I think that's been a major, I suppose, as a team they've evolved to that level now where you can't just set out to play Limerick one way. You have to actually be able to play them and beat them a couple of different ways.
Yeah, the composure and the consistency is huge in terms. Caroline Curran, Tom, you were our Caroline Curran in the 90s. You were ahead of your time. You definitely had us on the straight and narrow. Difficult characters.
I have to just compliment you on that. I have to say as well, I wouldn't get any money for it. But go on.
The headspace. the headspace, Tom.
Very good age out there.
The headspace in modern day sport, trying to keep people, like we see lots of different sports and people losing their head. And when you lose the head in any walk of life, I suppose it's very hard to focus and stay maybe in the zone or in the game. And in fairness to Caroline, she definitely has that job done really well. What I was going to say to you, Tom, is you had some difficult characters in the 90s. Like, let's say,
go through them one by one. So
Joe Quaid, Davy Clark, McDonough, Houlihan, Hegarty, Kieran, Frankie. You were the best of them, Tom. But you got
Ryan as well.
Yeah. But you got the best out of us. I could tell stories of Tom aching down one of them. Right? But in fairness, it was very direct and it was very straight. And what I would say is, you kind of treated us all the same. If you were good, you were told you were good, and if you were bad, didn't matter who you were, you got it straight between the two eyes. But you definitely seem to have that bit sorted for us in the 90s, that headspace, Tom. Did you study psychology at any stage?
I did. I went to the highest school of psychology, Telvo National School. And to answer your question, TJ, I actually, I would be deeply involved in thinking as a girls what way things should happen, and when things would go wrong, we were very open, weren't we? I mean, because there was no hiding, there was no ducking or diving, it was straightforward. And
just for the record, when we were in the dressing room, and if Tom came into the dressing room, right, and took off his coat and hung it in the corner, you were in big trouble. So that was straight away from a psychology point of view, you knew what was coming next. If he came in and he didn't take off the jacket, it's going to be okay.
Well, we had great days, and to be honest about it, I'm not a psychology person at all, teacher. And I think myself that when you put on a county jersey or a club jersey over you put it on over your head. I mean, look, you need to be able to start thinking about yourself, you know, I mean, on the field and that. And I think myself that really too much emphasis on it all, you know, because the one thing that what we had was actually we had great sport, and we can't, you see, if it gets too professional and if it gets too, you know, like, you have to enjoy hurling as well. You have to enjoy hurling at the club, you have to enjoy training, and you have to enjoy playing for the county as well, you know. And I think that's what I would advocate all the time, is encouragement in that, you know. I mean, I suppose you could call that psychology in a way, but I remember when I just tell you a short story about psychology, and you'd be very familiar with it. And you see, one night, I mean, Dave Mahady was a tremendous trainer, a huge professional with a soccer and rugby background and a dub, you know, with no sense of humour whatsoever. And one night we were coming off the pitch after training, and it was the early days now, it was back in the early 90s, and you see, a group had come over to home in college that time, and there were, I had teams. I had teams since I was about 10. I'd be looking after teams and managing them at 10 years of age, getting them here up the road to play at Townland and down the road to play at Townland and all my life. And I would have huge interest in everything. I think I'd try to be running around the place. But I said to Dave, we were walking up the field one night, I said to him, I said, tell me, Dave, I said, what's your psychology about it? The sports psychology, is that a drink or a tablet you have? So he said, he looked at me, you know, Jay, he said, now it's we have a faculty, he said, of sports psychology. What's that, a faculty? Oh, you have, and oh God, I said, this. No, he still hadn't registered like that. He was only being, you know, we already hadn't the faculty. But said, who have you, he said, Peter Smith, he said, a lovely man, got arrested, so he was a teacher, wasn't he? Yeah. And I said, could you bring him out some night and we'll have a chat with him? Because I was very constrained now with my position, with my financial backing and all that, and my county board that told me that, the first thing they told me there were 90,000 in the red pounds. That was the first thing I got, and I got the job. But anyway, that's pretend. So, there was much flow, like there was no JP around anyway. He was around there, but he wasn't putting anything towards it up. But anyway, I said to him, Peter Smith, I said, well, could you bring him out? I said, and we'll have a chat with him. He said, he brought him out anyway. And a lovely man, he had all this joke all up and down, you know, I said to him, the following night we went in, we were all tugged out, ready to go training, and instead of going out now, I said, we're going here, and he gave us a talk. And they just walk away, and very, very good and very positive, even telling me anything I didn't know already anyway, and I was no psychologist, I was no professor of anything. But anyway, so he did say one thing that I could take and I could measure and bring it even to outside of the game altogether. Never dwell on negatives. Don't dwell on negatives. Which meant to me was if you make a mistake, you're out the field, and you could see it happen 1,000 times, you make a mistake in the game, and a panic button sets in, and you go to rectify it, and it can actually get worse, and you can maybe end up having a foul or causing a foul. But anyway, that was beside the point. He was very good, a very decent man, a lovely fella, a very quiet man. And I said to Dave afterwards, I said, would there be any chance, I said, that we could have a one-to-one? Because as teacher has it all right, he said, we had individuals that would need more than counselling right now, you know. So I said to him, could we have him in a one-to-one for a few chappies? So, I don't see any problem with that. We look after whatever. I said, there'd be nothing like that. So anyway, it went badly wrong for me anyway. Because the first man who won't be mentioned that I attempted to get a one-to-one thought he was a psychiatrist, So, which meant that we thought he was mad, and that he was and so that failed already. That blew up in our faces anyway. That did. But it's just as you brought it up. I never forget it. It was funny, and it was worth trying it.
Marian, for you, obviously we've seen in very much to the front because of Limerick's success, the things like the stats, video analysis, strength and conditioning, the gyms, carrying courage. Is that filtering into your game?
This year a bit more than previous. So like we always had the Woodlands are our sponsors and they're very good to us. We've always had the gym and they're very good to give us the gym, and we've always had strength and conditioning. This year was the first year we had a nutritionist with us and we had a sports psychologist as well. Now, we needed her this year after getting relegated in the league, but
right.
like we didn't even say, she didn't do a whole pile on a one-on-one basis, but like even in terms of performance it was just interesting because we never had it before, like how different people prepare for games. Like if you walk into the dressing room before matches, it's mad the different characters and how they're in different mindsets. Like you have some girls there with noise cancelling headphones in and they will not look or talk to anyone else in the dressing room. And then you have some people who need to be chatting and they don't want to think about the match until they're on the pitch. So like she was good in terms of just helping people figure out what works for you so that like it will come out on the pitch. And then in terms of nutrition, it was great to have that this year. That was the first time we had it. So yeah, we're starting to get, like we don't have any Caroline Courage yet, but we're starting to get a bit more. I think the WGPA and the GPA amalgamating last year really benefited us, like in terms of heading towards equality with what the lads will get. We're not there yet, but it's definitely heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Ollie, I think the GA is small like farming in that, you know, when a lot of farmers, if they see the farmer down the road doing something strange, whether he's topping hedges or topping fields or whatever it is, right? If it's working for him, they have to get doing it straight away. And the winning team in hurling, if they have something that gets out there, all of a sudden every team has to have it. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely.
If they were dancing during the week, all of a sudden every team needs to be doing it.
That's it, but sure, come here, you go back to even our time in the 90s, and when Clare got ahead, mid-90s, like all of a sudden the only way you could win that Ireland was get up at 5:45 in the morning, like, and run up hills and puke at the top of the hill and run back down again and do it all over again, like. And funny, so I remember teaching there one of the years, you were probably there, you were there, but the Neutron diet, remember the Neutron diet? Waterford anyway had this Neutron diet. I think, Tom, at that stage you were just after finishing up, I think, but
Be sick, was it?
I didn't know what the correct word to use. But anyway, your predecessor anyway came in, and Waterford I think had stolen the march that year, and they were after going on this famous Neutron diet anyway, and Neutron was the buzzword back in the late 90s. So we anyway got this, without getting into the technicalities of it, this big bucket of powder basically. It could have been stuff now for dosing cattle or anything as far as we were concerned, but I'll never forget, Neutron was the way to go because the Waterford boys were running faster, they were pumping more weight, and they were winning matches left, right and centre. But I remember the first part we got Neutron, we were stuffing this Neutron stuff into our faces. I don't remember we went up to...
Didn't work for me,
No, well, it didn't work for anyone, I don't think. But I remember famously one day we played the first game, we were playing Laois in a challenge match up in Port Laois, and yeah, we were all on 3 weeks of Neutron diet. It was our first game, and I remember after about 15 minutes of the game, all of a sudden there was a couple of fellas pulling up, and there was a bit of, as the man says, a bit of turbulence down below, and there was an exodus to the toilet. So I think Neutron was discarded after that. Like, but look, it's amazing how these fads kind of come on stream, and I suppose we all become obsessed with it. Like, and I suppose at the moment, it's Limerick they're following, do you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Limerick are the ones they're following, and
Caroline Courage is very much out there, isn't it? And
that's it, and sure, Kinnerk, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could make a prototype of Kinnerk, Kylie and Courage at this stage, you know what I mean, that's the recipe. And even at club level, you know, every club now, like, you're nothing now unless you have GPS. Like, which I'll be honest with you, call me old school in a way, but I think there's a certain amount of ridiculousness to it as well, insofar as you need to peg it back a little bit to the bare essentials, and you know there's a lot to be said for maybe coming away, like it's not all based on stats all the time and about how much carbs you're getting into your diet every week and all the rest. So come here, it's like everything in moderation. The balance is important.
I'm big into stats and facts, and there's no, like my brother Donny doesn't believe in any of it. Like I know when it was very early, maybe a number of years ago, when but hooks and blocks were brought into it, and he was calling forward and he was asked after the game, how many hooks and blocks did you do? And he said, none. Right? To which he said, because my man didn't win the ball. So it is definitely true what you're saying. Like, it's horses for courses. And like Tom said there about building a team, maybe people are doing too much copying and not kind of creating their own. Like, yeah, so, yeah. Tom, that team in the 90s, like on Sunday, I think we got our final run out because it's 25 years since we won the National League down in Ennis. And I've great memories of the dressing rooms in Kilkenny and in Ennis. Because I think, Tom, you knew your fate at that stage, even though it had been a very successful couple of years. But super win just for that particular game to beat Galway, blowing Ennis.
It was actually, for the leadership reason, I was, just, and in saying that here tonight, I couldn't let tonight pass without complimenting the two lads here with me, I mean, they were tremendous hurlers. I mean, Ollie we decided that he'd play a bit of rugby early on. And
he was going for the program there.
You see, and he had visions.
Sorry, I didn't listen to you.
Yeah, he had visions, and he came on board with and it's a pity that I hadn't him earlier, and then I'm not saying that I can't see the point of view or anything, because he's a wonderful player, and I was right, he made the tremendous in the back. TJ was a wonderful player, a sportsman and a gas man and a great team man. And I would say one thing, the night we played Kilkenny down in Nolan Park in the semi-final of that league final, which were in that league, it was the best team performance of the Limerick team in my time. It was absolutely, the ball hardly touched the ground, TJ was at the back, and he hit him, DJ and built him a shoulder, and he dropped about 30 yards in the ball. I mean,
fairly, Tom.
It was some game, and that night, and the Kilkenny crowd that night, the supporters applauded Limerick off the field, and we were without 3 or 4 of our key people that had decided for one reason or another that we were gone and I was gone, and they took an easy way out. But we filled the gap. We had the young players coming on, including Ollie and them, and they didn't fail. So it was a tremendous time. That particular league, we were the only team that beat us in that league was Galway, up in Athenry, and we hadn't only half the team because they played the championship a couple of days earlier, and we were there with a pile of injuries, and we got badly beaten, and we came back, and that was a tremendous Galway team, and a great final. You can score, and when you compare now 25 and 28, 30 and 40 points, I mean, I think we're 112 to something really the scoring was absolutely, but the game was different. I still think hurling shouldn't move too far. I'm a bit worried about it in that regard, the game itself. I'm not worried about the system writing, I'm worried about the game. And it's creeping back into clubs. As Ollie has rightly said, the GPSs, I mean, I've never seen such nonsense now. I mean, but you see, the gimmick, it works, and it can be having an intimidatory effect, and Limerick are good at that. They have intimidated the opposition because they've been allowed to do that, you see. I mean, and they've been given the room to do it. And you see, all these, I would call them gimmicks. And you talk about diet and all that kind of thing. For hurling is an amateur game. The GA is an amateur association. We don't have to go on special diets. Ollie was talking about powder. Well, I know that there was a different kind of powder used in different teams, and we could go back to the 90s and that as well. And if the Nan and company above in Clare, they were using powder too. But I don't think. What you call it again? Wasn't that stuff you mentioned? I said or something else.
Creating or something like that.
Yeah, it might be different as well. It might be stronger again than that. Sorry.
I was going to say one thing, sir. Ollie, you were obviously there as well, but I have a brilliant my memory's not great, right? And sometimes, as I said, you like the stuff that you like to forget as well, right? But the semi-final your speech in the dressing room before we played Kilkenny, you knew your goose was cooked with the county board, right? And the speech was around Custer's last stand.
No, it was the league final.
I thought it was the same, was it?
It was
the league final?
Ennis,
Okay.
Ennis, I'll never forget it. We were in the hotel there in Ennis, there beside the field.
The Quaid.
Lower ground, that was it, yeah.
The Quaid.
Oh, that was, come here, we were never going to lose that match.
Never going to lose that match.
In all my time, and the men is there, it was, you'll remember it, Quaid Limerick.
Yeah.
It was on the crest.
It was on the crest.
Even just talking about it now,
Yeah.
I'm brought right back. I was only 21, 22, my first year in the panel. And it was a topsy-turvy year because we had a great league, ironically. The league that year was played in unison with the championship, if anyone remembers. It's 25 years ago now. But we had a great league, but a not so good championship, unfortunately. But you knew your fate. We all knew. Well, I was only a rookie and a greenhorn, but I was hearing the older fellas saying, Tom mightn't be here next week, whatever. But I think there was such a regard for the man and a loyalty when you spoke. It's like TJ, you were saying earlier on when about the psychology. The great thing about Tom was he was honest all the time, and that's you got it fair, you got it straight between the two eyes. But when you wanted someone to pick you up and make you 4 foot taller, that's what he did. But that speech that day,
unbelievable.
You were
If there was a dash cam in the dressing room back in the time when Tom was giving speeches, it would be gold now. It was incredible stuff.
yeah.
It had a bit of everything, bit of history, very much always Limerick related. Yeah. It was Limerick and the people who defended the city, and it was brilliant stuff.
Like you knew your fate, and I suppose we didn't know that you knew your fate at the time. And I think when you spoke, you probably knew this might be the last time I'd be addressing addressing him.
I know my fate today I was elected. That might.
Do you remember those speeches, Samuel?
I do, yeah. But that's why that's why I listen to Declan tonight talking about history. I don't be thinking, I like to, it means a lot to me because the people that were there, the people that actually endured. I mean, for ourselves in Limerick, that's very deep to me, very, very real. That's why the G and the hurling and the history and the whole lot, and everyone that plays, and that's why I would hate to see it go down the road that only the actual the elite can play. I was up in Tommyvale. I spent a couple of years in Tommyvale with 2 county champions. I don't want to be blown or anything over there, But there was a man there, and he was with lad. He was a gas man. Now he got arrested. He died last year. But he was a very, very shrewd individual, And he said to me, he said, "Do you know something?" He said about you. He said, "No, Ryan," he said to me, "you don't ever pray at the good place. It's the very place, the poor place you'll be working with all the time." And that's really what I think is kind of lacking now, because in clubs we tend to maybe not spend enough time with the weak players. And I would specialise, and I love encouraging, and and as teacher said, on the field of training, we say it's a different ball game. We had great night training. We had they were talking about Kilkenny and Quaid. Our matches inside training for 40 minutes every night. With a referee and 4 umpires, and it was full blown. And long before Kilkenny started getting praised for it, we were the one with teaching. And that was silly stuff, so you have to encourage the weak players, because I remember one time with the famous Dunclan, and they were famous and still famous in Tipperary hurling and in Tommyvale hurling. There were 5 of them. There were 4 boys together, and one of them couldn't hurl at all. And when I'm not present myself or anything, but when I left Tommyvale, he captained the 21 team to win a county under 21 title. So it can be done, but you have to have it. You have to have it. The people over teams that are really spread their wings, spread their thoughts, and watching because you can, and particularly in top teams, even now. I know now back in our own club at home, they're kind of underage and being very strong, but maybe in their success, they have lost a lot of players that will go into other courts. That's one thing that I wanted to
see. Tom was a psychologist. Marian, in the dressing room, would you like a manager to be emotional and upfront and driving me beforehand, or nice and calm?
No, I need the managers to be
You need Tom.
trying it. Yeah, I need a Tom. You look for a Tom.
Will you strip my fear?
You like to be kind of...
Yeah, I know everyone's different, and that's actually one of the things that our sports psychologists alluded to this year, but no, I definitely prefer it. I hate going out onto the pitch if everything is flat. You need someone. I don't even like when they leave it to the players before the match, because that's too many people start talking. I think it's just, if you can get a good manager to say the right thing before you go out, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Ollie, a couple of other things. Sky Sports is gone. Good or bad? Like you say, internationally, we're still hoping the GA go, we get stuff out there, get games. I have to credit the streaming and the club matches. It's all very good now, very positive, and look into the future. But are you sorry to see them go, or are you kind of saying?
Look, personally, I like Sky. I like their coverage. It was something different. You know, purely just from a spectator point of view or from a supporter point of view, I liked what they had. Like to be critical, I think the RT offering is very stale. I think we've seen it all before. I think it needed freshening up, and I think definitely they made the RT sit up and think. Look, unfortunately, their numbers just weren't stacking up, and commercially wasn't stacking up, which is probably why they're gone. I didn't agree with their pay for play for the hardcore GA supporters who wants to go and see once their championship match and on telly. I think they could have done a little bit more on the PR side from that point of view, and maybe make life a little bit easier for people like that. But look, come here, I think it's good for the market in one way that you have the likes of players like Sky Sports there. But TJ, look, it's not a big deal really for me, you know.
Tom, do you think I could apply for this kind of job?
You could, and you'll be that better than him as well. Because as Ollie has said, if you talk about going stale, I mean, it has passed its sell by date a long time ago. You know, there was, but the one aspect of it that I would be very, I'm totally anti-RT, you know, in their presentation, because they're cliques and they have their own, you know, and they actually, what they did was, they emphasised and they can control people's thinking as well. And this is what they call the modern game. I don't know where this modern game came out of, but they have given no one an opportunity for the challenge, the actual, that even theory itself, you know. I mean, we had our president, he spoke above in after the intermediate club final last year, and he said a great traditional game of hurling. Well, I have a bit of a column there in the paper there. I know it's an English paper now, but I don't want to forgive me for that, because I need the money, like. And I learned from him, like, I said I didn't know that you had two games of hurling now. You had the modern game, you had the traditional game. So he had to be careful if he goes after that. You know, he got to go to Ollie. And to be honest about it, like, I mean, RT, like, definitely needs a major shake-up. I mean, and what I mean is, in that regard, it needs somebody to challenge the actual what's there. There's only one view there, and they have decided that road to go down. They've done that. Can't no loss in my book, higher for Ollie, and they want to freshen the whole thing up. Sky will be a loss in that regard, but on the other hand, as Ali had rightly said, there were a lot of people that he wasn't available to, that people couldn't look at it. In fairness, in nursing homes, and people even, I have no Sky have only I have only a couple of old channels, I don't watch television anymore.
If in your column, you can give me a plug to take the card. Ollie, the split season, fan or no?
Fan, definitely, yeah, absolutely. Look, again, you're never going to get it right all the time, but come here, we were just talking when we walked in, we were here at Kilmallock and Doon a couple of weeks ago. You couldn't get in, it was absolutely torrential day, place was packed, great venue, we were all buzzing. Like, I remember going to Limerick matches early 80s, like when places like Kilmallock and Bruff were absolutely chock full or whatever, like, and I think that's definitely been the big positive for me. And look, it's not ideal. Do I have an issue with the All-Ireland final not being played in September? No, I don't. I don't think people do. Look at the crowds that are going to matches. Do you know what I mean? People aren't
I think the players are fans anyway, and it's working for them. Yeah.
Huge.
They have their structure, inter-county first half.
Come here, TJ. I don't know. Like again, I never agreed with this. Playing 2 or 3 championship matches, club championship matches in April, when people are just about kind of getting used to going back to hurling matches. Half the championship is over. Some teams were gone by May, right? And then you've all these young fellas that are now playing. Like, look, come here. I have no problem. Let them go and go on their holidays. Let them go to America for a couple of months. Once they're back, whatever, July, August, September, to play for their club. That's the optimum season. It's all about the club.
And is that working for you in terms of split season as well? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They did it this year now, and I think a lot of players were a huge fan of it. Like you said, you have your inter-county, and then I know for us it's probably not the same. I don't know if the boys got it, but we could have 2 weeks off. We went on holidays or whatever, and then we were another 3 weeks to prep for club championships. So like you're mentally all county until the end of July, and then all club from the end of August onwards. It's much easier. It's more straightforward. Even player welfare, like you're not caught going between the two and trying to push yourself. In terms of training and matches, it's much.
Yeah, and
it makes so much more sense.
Players like it, yeah. Both male and female, which is good. Very quickly, because I think we're over time, we might take a question from the audience if anyone wants to ask Tom a question, because I'm sure somebody does. Tom, roll forward to Sunday, Kilmallock and the Piershik. 2 best teams, I think, at the moment, even though Kilmallock just got over the line here. Two exciting forward lines, new pitch laid in the Gaelic grounds, even though the weather is bad at the moment, it should be a long and quick game. What do you think?
Yeah, it should be. We're due and we've been tightly with county final now. You know, the 2 strongest teams, I suppose, are in you have to come into the with Doon, and especially Josh Ryan with his injury. I've said about that year that and maybe conditions contributed to that as well. Maybe the match shouldn't be played. Kilmallock have the tradition. They won't give in easily, and they were lucky against Doon, and lucky they were like Doon are divided completely for years. But I think that the Piershik, a bit smoke, maybe Kilmallock might catch them. I mean, they're not invincible. They were caught last year, and it could happen again. I mean, but they're good. They're a very good, strong, traditional hurling club. Very big and physical, and they have the skill factor, and they have. But Kilmallock have it as well, and Kilmallock have huge tradition. I mean, and I think that it will be very tight, and it could go, maybe Kilmallock could sweep it.
Yeah, Ollie, what side of the fence are you on?
Yeah, I think on paper, the Piershik are marginally the better team.
Series forwards, isn't it?
Yeah, look, they have it everywhere. Look, they just have quality oozing left, right, and centre. Again, I think conditions-wise, forecast isn't brilliant for Sunday. The only thing I'd say is, and again, call me the traditionalist, I just feel Kilmallock hurled probably the last 10-12 minutes against Doon, got a result. The best way of coming into a county final is under, having had a relatively poor, very, very lucky, but they got better and better and better as the year went on last year, and I think they're going to hold their biggest performance on Sunday. There's something that just tells me it'll be Kilmallock. They're the underdogs, and the form guide says Piershik, but good weekend for the South, Kilmallock and Bruff. Say all the right things this weekend.
Marian, for you, do you know in the GAA sometimes, I'll come back to you, this is a good question for you, Tom, but do you know sometimes in the GAA you'd like to see your neighbours getting beat? So, I assume that's everywhere, yeah? Would Bruff people be shouting for Kilmallock, and would Kilmallock people be shouting for Bruff?
Oh God, I don't know, I'm on the spot now. I don't know.
It probably depends what side of the border you're living on. You're living very close to them.
Well, I went to school in Kilmallock, so I might be a little bit biased. I probably know a few of them, so I'll call Kilmallock for the weekend. I don't know about what the rest of the Bruff people are going to say. But yeah, there's no doubt that the 2 strongest senior clubs there, and I think with the result they got in the semi-final, like that will just drive Kilmallock on, like they learned from even last year. So I think I'll call Kilmallock for something.
Yeah. But that's in the GAA, Tom, isn't it? Where maybe somebody really close. Like I know where we live in Knockland, right beside Tipperary. Like we probably would shout for anybody at Tipperary.
Well, yeah, that could happen all right. At club level especially, you know. I was at the county final, the last county final, and there was a grandson of the late Jeff Ryan. Yeah, he was in the youth and over and shouting, and he was supporting. Blackrock I think were playing Kildare. I'm sure it was Kildare. And I said to him, you know, you play now, he was very funny. He was only now, he was playing every ball. You know, we were in the stand, and I said, sure, why are you supporting? I said, Kildare, sure, nothing Kildare. Oh, she said, I hate him, he said. And he was about 9.
And that kind of brings us back to the start of the conversation where community, that sense of that everybody within the walls of Brough will be
tribalism,
tomorrow, won't it? And it's just sometimes the ones closest to it and saying like, I hope they get beaten. Like, so that's the beauty of the GAA. Just very quickly, surely somebody has a question for one of the lads here.
Well, as you've said, I mean, it's the best ever time for Limerick Hurling, and it's also the worst time for Limerick Rugby, the worst the last 45 years. Is that a coincidence, or do you think are there factors at play where young fellas and Collini have decided now with the success of the hurling team to abandon the rugby?
I'll have to let Ollie answer that one because I wouldn't know a huge amount about rugby and I say Tom knows less.
Sure, man. I played rugby for your months.
Okay,
I'm actually very, very detached from the whole rugby thing, and like that, and I'm only picking up what's been said, and I know they're going through a really bad phase at the moment, but come here, in my opinion, I think, like, and I'm going to be very careful what I say, because you know, I don't know who you're talking, but like, you know, the rugby bandwagon I think was starting to come off a lot more than the last couple of years. I think it was 5-10 years ago it was starting to slip. But to answer your question, I think definitely what's happened, to answer your question, I didn't know, I think it's just purely coincidental, and they're just coming off a very, very good number of years, like, you know, mid-noughties, where were we only from Munster Rugby, whatever. Did it impact on Limerick Hurling? Not really, as far as I could see. But I think now the big thing that I'm seeing at club level and in urban areas, like any young fella now who is a good, we see it in our own club, like all our good young hurlers are good rugby players, all they want is hurling, you know what I mean? So definitely I think the pool is dwindling, but I think ultimately where Munster failed was, Munster have had academies for a long, long time, but ultimately they're going to South Africa and they're going to New Zealand and they're picking players. So I think eventually that was going to come against them, and I think that's what's happened.
A bit of identity.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see something in the paper there. Is Paul O'Connell's nephew in the squad now?
Is he? I don't.
Yeah,
he is actually.
I just think it's just more local players in Munster to do better. But I wouldn't be qualified to answer your question. But they did have a great time there during the night, Munster Rugby, and maybe it's hurling's turn, and that will probably swing again. I would say, you know, that's just the way sport goes.
I'd like to ask Tom there. He said he'd like to
take over a team that would beat Limerick, or you'd like.
I think he said build a team.
Build a team. But is there any team in the in the other counties that you think you could work with that would beat Limerick?
I think that a team that's really not reached its potential for some reason or other, and that'll be Dublin. I think that they're the team that I believe that in the right hands and with the right, you know. I watched the Dublin County final now.
They're good for Quaid Dublin.
And you know, I think that they'd be a team that I'd like to have. You know, just to see what you could do with them. You know, I think that they have the potential. But Limerick needs to be challenged. That's the point I'm making. Some team has to come out of the foul and say, look, come on, you know. And I think that's what hurling needs now. You know, we have 3 All-Irelands in a row, we've had 3 or 4, we've done a few more, but that doesn't mean I'd be worried about hurling. The game itself, the rugby can be questioned. You know, I still think that you know, that rugby has its detractions, and it will. It won't. I mean, Munster Rugby is in good hands. The clubs are working very hard. Underage competition is no harm. You need competition. You know, I mean, soccer is a huge competition as well, and you know, you have there's only a pool of players there, so we want to ensure that the quality of our training and all that is kept up to the highest standards. You know, that's very important.
Anybody else?
question to TJ. Yeah. Thanks to the panelists again tonight. Thanks, TJ. Very interesting discussion. Could I just ask you, going back about 10 years ago, Limerick GA County Board had brought in Lift to the Trinity, which where there was non-competitive up to under 14. I think that was a big movement. Tom touched on about bringing on the weaker players. That certainly brought on, you know, the weaker players and got people interested. Whereas before, you know, when I was growing up, we could be sitting on the sideline for, you know, because I wasn't much good, even though I'm from Kilmallock. I did play, and but like a lot of the time I spent on the sideline. So on my younger days, but I think it was just interesting that Tom touched on it tonight, like to bring on the weaker players. And I agree with Ollie and Marian there about Kilmallock tomorrow. We are the county champions, but could I just say I'm from Kilmallock, just to wish Bruff the very best of luck tomorrow anyway. So, but thanks again for interest in this question.
Yeah, no bother.
Sorry, the back door in the championship, has it added or devalued the championship? Are you for or against it?
In the county.
In the county.
Just
Well, Tom and myself were, yeah. For me, definitely, the structure of the current championship is good. I think the more games that you get, maybe in the Munster, is very good. I was involved with Tom in the early stage. I was fortunate that I came around the same time as Tom, where we got a run in '94. But there was a couple of years afterwards where we prepared exceptionally well, the same as the team would today. On the first day, if things didn't go right for you, oh God, and you had like the whole year to wait to come back around again. I think that was exceptionally harsh. So I do think in the modern game, having a couple of extra chances and getting back in it. I think we're getting the best teams in the knockout stages. So for me, I'd be a fan of it. Tom, you?
I'm not actually, no.
You'd go back to '94?
Yeah, I would. I would go back to '94 because the point about it is, you see, a cup to me, I always. Can you recall when we were in the 90s, you see, like the team we had and the team that we built and then got going, and every match was the final. I remember Shanahan called for me, he called for me, and the hair would be in the back of your neck because that was not a. So I'm kind of a bit maybe lost at the games. Oh, we lost All Ireland. But like, okay, we lost 2 All Irelands and we didn't play well in them either. You have to remember. But that's all. But every match we played was the final. And at that particular time, I think the actual quality was better. It was really severe because there was no draw the following morning. There was no back door. There was no. It was either win, or you were gone. Now, for a championship, I think. Oh, yeah, I know the task, but so you're telling who you're telling. I mean, we were there. I mean, we were through. I played all the county, down the counties. Yeah. I played with them for 10 years, and every match there was no back door in any. You see, and I believe that what happened then, and what kind of upset me really is when you would hear people talking about, well, we'll take an easier way now. We'd be better if we got beaten there, and maybe then we'll have an easier run. That kind of way. And yes, a kind of a managed system. And what that did was it actually undermined the National League, which is really should be your major competition. And not your major competition, but it should be, it undermined, the system we have now undermines the league. The league now is only, when you hear, I'm only listening to, we're talking about the first Sunday in May and all this kind of stuff. It kind of, and you're playing weekend teams and all that kind of stuff. And that was allowed to be brought in. I think, that was, money was the main thing about it anyway. I think myself, because I'm a money spinner. And they had a few problem people, a few in Limerick especially, they were mounting constantly, we were training all the year. But let's be honest about it, we were that way for 100 years. Over in Wimbledon, you want to have a second chance. You want to have a second chance in the FA, you won't be drawing the following morning, that you'll be meeting somewhere else. So I don't see anything wrong with tradition in that regard. And I would be definitely a strong supporter of the knockout system for championship, and maybe I'm on my own in that, but that's you asked the question, and
I like the idea, Tom, of the games in Munster where you play kind of all teams and you go to Ennis or Lincoln, they come to get grounds, but I like your opinion. I just think it would be very harsh on the modern player. Where are you?
Yeah, I suppose am I a fan? Yes, if I go one way or another, I think it's been, all things considered, a good thing. It's definitely flawed in many ways. I think it's driven by the GAA's finances and commercial more so than anything else, because ultimately the GAA are saying, well, you know, it's more bumps and seats, more games, and you know, there's that argument. I think the biggest negative for me is, and I think all three of us would be in agreement, the Munster Championship is severely devalued as a result of the back door. And I think that's an awful pity, because the Munster Championship is bar none the best championship out there, and I think, call a spade, it's devalued. I can nearly get to a point now where, will I go to the Limerick Waterford? No, I might go to Limerick there the following week. You know, that shouldn't be, Munster Championship should be, it's religion for us, right? So that's but look, the reality is, I think players now, the level at which they're trained and playing, it just doesn't make sense to have a role that, you know, you can't put your life on hold for 9 or 10 months of the year and have one game and you'll be gone after 60 minutes. I think it's not like the FA or soccer where, you know, they're playing the Premiership in the league and then they have their FA Cup or whatever. Like, it's the only show in town for hurlers, like, you know what I mean? So
it must have been, I think it was Churchill who said, nothing focuses the mind like the prospect of being hanged in the morning, right? So I think each championship match, Tom, back in the 90s was a bit like that, like I said, because...
I agree with your teacher there, trying, you know, I come from that was my background anyway, you know, and you know, but to be there then, and it to be changed, you know, because, like, I mean, you know, you were in a different system altogether after that, you know, but our matches, like, they were all finals, like, everyone, you know, I mean, and we won a lot of them, although we didn't figure in the big one. You know, but we didn't win that. But at the same time, I mean, look at '96. Go back to '96. I mean, like, will there be every year like it again? Like, you know, I mean, you were Cork. You know, I mean, at home when we beat them for 75 years. And you know, you were there.
10 points down in the Munster final.
You know,
you came in and played after a while.
You know.
I think it was somebody else.
Yeah. Just a quick one. I'm involved in a couple underage teams, and my two-mate beside me here is an encyclopedic knowledge of rough hurling, and he can go back to Derry Moran's brother who won a national league with Galway in the 60s. But I was after the attack again, rough beat attack, and we went down to Clark's pub and we had a couple of pints with Mike, and we were discussing a team I was involved in, and there were two young fellas sparking all the time, and Mike was asking me who would their grandfathers be. So he'd be able to tell you the weaknesses going back 2 generations. You know,
the chinks, yeah. Did he sing a song, Mike, that night? Because the last time I was with you in Clark, you sang a super song.
Well, we have a song here in Brough, the national anthem. It's from Bynishing.
Right.
I could try a verse with it.
Go on.
There are only 14 verses.
Will be alright, don't you?
You'll find out.
No, my rock, don't you something, by the sheep, here up and round, I stop, by gone, and come to our gig, caution, on bright time shops, on renewed wherein, and ringas not where I found, most time live shall, briar cruise no bell, all I slew, only be the long. O ye streamlets, she said, and ye brooks, that wander along by the grove, oh, can you restore the farm looks of the beautiful land I love? He has gone to a far distant shore, far away from his loved one, and now he has left me to wander alone by the pine she here on times of bliss, my true love shall never more come. I will never inhale his fond kiss, till sorrow finds rest in the tomb. So saying she fled through the trees, disappeared from my sight, and I vowed that I never more saw the fond maid by the binding sheen thereon unround. Good morning.
In my company in Caps, and he sings Pick June, so if anyone wants to go down there, he's excellent entertainment. But to go back to our point, just to close it off, I do think that through history in the GAA, an awful lot of us trace young players now with who their parents are, who their grandparents are, where they came from, what the breeding is like. I know it's big in the horses town, but probably we in the GAA, we trace them and we can say, you know what, they're bred to be good. It's definitely a trait in the GAA, isn't it? But just from our point of view, huge thanks, really enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. So as I said, best luck to Bruff tomorrow, and sure we'll be back in Camogie shouting you on.
Okay.